Whipmaker's cracker twist, Matthew Walker knot, alternate strands sinnet, followed by 2 wall knots. What we're going to do here is another Matthew Walker knot. There's a range of knots we could use here, but for this particular piece of decorative work, a Matthew Walker knot is what we'll do. So, once again, you form a loop, hold it with your thumb, bring that behind and through the loop, okay? Picking up the next strand along, the adjacent strand to the first loop you made, make another loop. Sit that beside it, behind those ends and up through both loops, okay? Continue in this fashion. Next strand around, behind the last one, up through the 3 loops, there we go, and the 4th one. Keeping it nice and neat makes it much easier to work with, and this is especially important if you're working with many strands, like to do an 8 strand Matthew Walker knot. This is very important you get this nice and neat, and if you slip your thumb under there to reveal the first loop, you can take most of the slack out of the knot. Same thing again, shifting your thumbs around, take out most of the slack once more, and these should all sit nicely in the pattern that you've created, okay? Once again, like in the first knot, all of these strands are coming out the side and we want to bring them to the top, so we have to carefully bring these working ends around until they actually point up. And we want to do so without making a gap here between the previous wall knot and the Matthew Walker knot that we're actually making at the moment. So, finger in the middle, pushing down with the thumb and pull a bit of tension. Same thing again. And just continue working that until you get your Matthew Walker knot looking the way that it should, nice and neat, nice and round, with all the ends pointing straight along the centre line of the bell rope that we're making. Okay. Not too bad. A little bit of work, roll it in your fingers, you might find that helps. You know, thumb on top of the end that it comes up at, that's the loop of the same strand that you're pulling on. It's always the case. This knot locks very, very tight. In fact, once it's tied, fixed or set as it's often called, you'll find it's a very, very difficult knot to undo. And in most cases it's not even worth trying to undo it, although at some stage you will undoubtedly want to try. I do recommend it for an afternoon full of fun. Anyway, here's our bell rope so far. We're starting to get there.